It's my pleasure to introduce one of my very, very good friends. And I was thinking about it the other day. This year, it's 20 years since we met.
Yes. Yeah.
My friend, Reverend Peggy Konkel. And we met when Reverend Peggy came to serve at Unity of Blue Water in Port Huron in 2005 after her graduation from ministerial school. And I had already been serving there for a few years. And when she came, we hit it off, and we've been great friends ever since. And she's moved all over the country, but that didn't seem to matter because she's here back in Michigan. And I'm so grateful that we've been able to reconnect. You're in for a treat, as always, and so please help me welcome Reverend Peggy Konkel.
Thank you. It's always good to be here. I always feel welcomed here. I feel like this might be one of my second or third congregations, so I'm really happy to be here. Good, grand, glorious morning. I always start off with that. It's kind of my way of setting the tone. And you may wonder what the songs that we were singing or listening to this morning had anything to do with spirituality. Well, everything has something to do with spirituality. And my theme song seems to have been through my life on the road again, because I've been on the road a lot. And God is always my traveling pilot, not my co-pilot. I'm the co-pilot. God is my pilot. So I recently took a trip to Tallahassee, and that's where today's lesson comes from. So I started off in the morning, and it was raining a little bit as I went through Ohio, and then I saw the rainbow, and I knew that everything was going to be just fine. And I was taking my little puppy dog with me as my traveling companion this time. Only the second time I've had him on a long trip, and the first time I've had him in a motel, which made me a little anxious because my little puppy dog is a very good dog, except he has this one quality: he likes to bark. So I didn't know how he's going to be in a motel, but that's another story. Every time I travel, the stories I get, the God inspiration I get, the new understanding and revelation I get just keeps on pouring forward. And that is probably why I continue to travel. So many of us travel because we want to experience new things, or we want to make a connection with people that we haven't connected with in a long time, or we want to learn and we want to grow, or maybe it's just because we have this need to be somewhere. Some of us will do long distance traveling and just love it, and others it'll be short distances. We're always traveling. You see, traveling is part of changing. So when we travel down the road of life, we are changing, we are learning and growing and experiencing new things and becoming more godlike if we open our hearts to do that. And so even when we're going to the grocery store, we're on the road. So whether you're on the road for 5 minutes or you're on the road for 15 hours, you're on the road. And so my hope today is, as you listen to my road experience, that you will realize, even in those 5 minutes that you're on the road, that the importance is to be here now, to be in the present moment, so that you get the gifts that God has for you. So I'm going down the road, and everything looks fine, and I'm entering Tennessee, and my hope is, actually my plans are, you make plans when you travel. You make plans so that you're in a certain place at a certain time, and that your car works the way it's supposed to work, or the plane takes off the way it's supposed to take off. You make plans. And so I was going down to see my cousins in Tallahassee, and I made this plan at this motel to stop because I had this pet in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is about halfway. And I was making really good time. My dog was cooperating. He doesn't need to get out of the car very often, so I didn't have to get out of the car very often. The roads were in good shape. It was the middle of the week, lots of truckers, but everything was moving fine. You know, we make these plans, everything's going to move fine, everything's going to go great, and I saw this rainbow. Well, there's a lot of construction on the road these days, not just only in Michigan. There's a lot of construction on the roads all over. And so there was on 75. I was going straight down 75. And so I was just making this wonderful time, and I was using my GPS. Let me stop a minute and talk about GPS, this wonderful tool, this global positioning system. You know, I was one of those people who fought the idea of putting the map down and using the GPS. Somewhere along the line, I changed my mind, and I'm so happy for the GPS. I love the GPS because I've learned to look at it not only as a global positioning system, but as God's possibility system. You see, it helps me to see things differently. You know, it's amazing. It's awe-inspiring to me that this thing knows where I am and knows where everybody else is and knows where the potholes are and where there's cars stopped along the road and where the police are and where the backups are and where the accidents are. It's amazing. It's wondrous. That was a gift of God to us. And so I got my little GPS on my phone, and I happened to use a program that came to me, Waze. It's free. And Waze stands for me as wonder and awe, zeal, and enthusiasm. So when I get in the car, I'm on my Waze. Well, every once in a while, the Waze will see something ahead and tell me about it, so I can get past it. And sometimes they'll say, "Watch out! There's a car stopped on the brim." And I used to jump every time it said, "Watch out!" And I thought, "Oh my God, that could cause me to make an accident." And finally, I did what we all do. We attenuate to the circumstances. So now when I hear that idea, "Watch out," I'm awake to it, I'm aware to it, but I've attenuated to it. If I really had to watch out, I'd be in trouble. Well, we do that sometimes with the way we look at God in our life, do we not? We attenuate to the fact that God's always going to be there taking care of us, and we forget to be there ourselves in that present moment to allow God to take care of us. So anyway, oftentimes what Waze will do is they'll say something's happening like traffic or construction, and they will say, "Take an alternate route. You will save so many minutes and maybe so many miles. Take an alternate route." Well, I've taken their alternate routes before, and they have saved time and money. Well, I'm about an hour out from where I plan on stopping in Knoxville. And I hear, "Take an alternate route." Now, here's the thing. Ways, like God, like our personal will, gives us a choice. You can take the route, or you can stay on the route you're on. So I hear, take an alternate route. You will save 12 minutes, and I don't know how many miles. And the alternate route is called alternate 75. And it goes through the mountains. And it goes on the 2-lane roads where you're going on those S curves. From right to I love those S curves. I love the mountain driving. You go back and forth and back and forth. Of course, you're not going 70 miles an hour anymore. You're going more like 35. But you're going back and forth and back and forth. And you just get different scenery, and you get to see different beauty, and you get to see more of the inside of the mountain and more of the fauna and the flora and people's homes and just the beauty. Of course, you have to watch out every time you go around the curve, because what do we know? When you go around curve, you don't know what's around the curve. You can't see a mile ahead of you. You can see a curve. You can see a curve. And so I'm going on these curves, up and down, and just going on this alternate. And I'm just loving it. And there are some other cars, but not many. And then I pass through an intersection to a town. And the town's name hits my mind, but it doesn't really hit my mind. And then I'm about a mile from getting back on to 75. And I'm in that place where I've got a half hour before I get to where I'm supposed to be, right? I've made great time. I'm about an hour ahead of time. I'm feeling great. And traffic stops. It just stops. I'm going, wait a minute, this is an alternate. I'm supposed to be saving time. I'm supposed to be saving energy. And then I realized I'm on this 2-lane road in the mountains. Well, you know what happens in 2-lane roads in the mountains. You don't have sides. You have a mountain. And you got to drop off the mountain. You don't have sides. And it stopped both ways. There had been a little farther down, there had been a little accident. I didn't see but the one car when I finally passed it, and I saw the bumper problem, and I saw the people out, and I saw a cop or somebody trying to get traffic to move. But what happens on a 2-lane highway when you're going like this and you're going like this and there's no way to get around is you don't go anywhere. You sit. Well, another thing that Waze has that I didn't realize until I sat for about a half hour is that you can look ahead on the road to see where your next turn is. And, and I did. I looked ahead and, I knew why we would stop. But intuitively, I knew before I looked. I knew it was a 2-lane highway. That meant somebody was blocking somebody who was going to make a left-hand turn. So until that left-hand turn was made, nobody was going anywhere. And so we were stopped. The beauty of sitting there for an hour in that stop position was that God was with me. It was quiet. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. I still have in my mind the trucker on the other side of me who had said to me, he had said, should I turn around? What's going on? And at that point, I was about maybe 4 blocks from where the accident was. And I said, don't turn around. This is what's going on. You're about 4 blocks. I was about a mile from where I was going. I still have that trucker in my heart and in my mind. I'm still sending that trucker prayers. People were talking to each other. It didn't matter what our religion was. It didn't matter what our politics was. It was we were all sharing the road, sharing our load, side by side. And so we sat there for an hour, just being God beings and allowing the peace to settle within us, waiting for that opportunity for the traffic to undo. God is that way. God is always there for us, taking care of us, no matter what our plans are. So when I look at the idea of how do we get into this space where we can travel the road sharing our load, what came to me was the Beatitudes. Jesus said, when somebody said that they would follow him, he said in Matthew 8, verse 20, he said, birds have nests, foxes have holes, but the Son of Man has no place to lie his head. Part of being a traveler is remembering that as we travel through life, the whole world is where we lay our head. Jesus was saying, if you follow me, you don't need to worry. You don't need to have a home space, because that home space is right here in your heart. So what came to me was the Beatitudes that are in Matthew chapter 5. It was part of the Sermon on the Mount. And it starts off like this. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up to the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, those disciples are those qualities of God that are within us. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. To be poor in spirit is to be humble. It is to let the ego go. How often will we sit in our car wanting to get through traffic saying, I've got this that I've got to do. I've got to be here at this time. God knows. God knows. If you're supposed to be there, you'll be there. If not, you won't. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Mourning is when we feel that there is a loss, when we've had a loss. Mourning is something that happens when we look to the past and we grieve the past, or we look to the future and we grieve what will never be. We grieve what has been, or we grieve what has never been. What this is saying is be present in the moment. This is where your life is. This is where you are on the road. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Be humble. Be humble. You know, when we're in that place where we allow it to be, it is. It just is. So when we're being meek, we don't get our up. You know, we're in that space where we know that there's something greater. We know that there's something greater. Sometimes we just hold that space. We never know. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst in righteousness, for they will be filled. When we hunger and thirst for right action, for right thoughts, we put those thoughts in alignment, our thoughts and our deeds. When we want it, when we feel it, when the desire is there, God fills that desire for us. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. People could be sitting there honking their horns. They could be breaking into lines. They could be causing more confusion. Sometimes I'm one of those people who do that. By the time I got to the left-hand turn, I pushed my way through there. I pushed my way through there, not for me because I wanted to be there. I pushed my way through there because I needed to help my line move forward. I was not trying to be unkind to the person who wanted to make the next thing, but I knew what they were facing and they weren't getting anywhere yet. My line had to move for theirs to move. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. When you're in that place of purity, when you're in that place where you're not attached to anything else, that's when God speaks to you. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. When we feel that peace within us, we can be between others who do not have peace. Peace is catching. When we are not contentious, others will not be contentious. It will die because it doesn't have that energy any longer. That negative energy will dissipate. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Because when we know it's right, when we know it feels right, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Nobody says that the roads will always be smooth, that there won't be potholes, that there won't be construction, that there won't be accidents. But as we travel the road, sharing our load with each other, with God, as one, we are blessed. God bless you.